It's a song that I hope brings comfort to people who have lost someone that they love, but also as a reminder that someday when we leave this world, we're going to go before our Creator, and all those pains of this world are going to be washed away, and we'll see Jesus. And want to hear those words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant."
Well done, my good and faithful one.
Hey, it's Keith Stevens here talking with the Afters about their early days and the inspiration for their song, Well Done.
I love that song.
I love that song.
I love that song.
Hey, I'm hanging out with the group The Afters. How about you guys introduce yourselves?
Hey, I'm Matt Fuqua, and I am Josh's partner in crime over here. We started The Afters 18, 19 years ago.
Yeah, I'm Josh, and I sing for The Afters. So we've been a band for quite a while now. Matt and I went to middle school together, so we sang in choir. And
Do you say, my goodness, it's been that long? Are you?
you know, in some ways, I honestly just feel so fortunate that we get to do this for so long. But it started off, just out of high school. We got jobs at a local Starbucks, and Starbucks was pretty new at that point.
Sure.
So we would come in and work the morning shift, which was 5 a.m., and we'd have a first wave of customers, and they were like the Walking Dead. They would come in, they'd work the night shift, and we would just give them coffee, and it was like Insta-Human, right? Where they'd come alive, and we'd send them on their way. And then we wouldn't have any customers for a while, because Starbucks wasn't as popular back then. So for about an hour or two, there'd be no customers. And that's when we always had our acoustic guitars with us, so we'd pull them out and started making up songs right there in the store. And then when a customer would walk in, we wouldn't stop singing. We'd keep singing, and they'd order their drink, and we would make up songs about their drink orders, and we would just goof off and have fun. So that's kind of the origins of how we started, and people started asking us where they could hear more music. And so we booked a show, and I think at our first show we had about 300 people, and most of them were customers from that
Is
Starbucks.
that right?
Yeah, and so we've been doing music ever since, and Matt's like
And
a
which
brother to me.
Starbucks was that?
It was in Mesquite, Texas, just outside of Dallas.
How about it? How about it? That's some grassroots stuff right there.
It really is. And there was another local band called Mercy Me at the time. And we played a show together. It was a Halloween alternative night for youth. And I remember them playing this song, I Can Only Imagine. They had words on the screen because nobody knew the song because it hadn't come out yet.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, that's a good song. And then fast forward, we became friends and kept in touch over the years, and they ultimately were the ones who called us. Bart called me and said, have you guys signed with anybody yet? Because our label would like to sign you. And so we ended up signing with their label. They took us on tour.
Who doesn't live for a phone call like that? You know? Really, that's the phone call that's like you go home and you're like, I can't believe it. I got the phone call. And what went through your mind, Matt, on that day when you realized that you wanted to be signed?
It was kind of one of those things like, is this really happening? Or is this just like, am I just dreaming this? But it's also one of those things where you're like, well, this sounds really good, but maybe it won't work out. I don't know. We were just like, it's really interesting the way God kind of paved the road for us into Christian music. Yeah. And I think when I think back on it, and you ask what were you thinking? It's kind of really interesting because people will ask all right, well, how do I get to where you were? And I just couldn't tell you.
It's God just really orchestrated.
God just kind of parted the waters, and we walked through on dry ground. It was
even that first tour was such a blessing because we were all married guys.
Yeah.
And some of us had kids on the way, and some of us already had a couple kids. And how do you go from supporting yourself outside of music to suddenly supporting yourself on the road when nobody even knows you?
Was it hard?
And so
was it hard or no?
That's why this tour was such a gift. We went on this tour, and Mercy Me, I Can Only Imagine, had just blown up.
Right.
And so this was their first big tour after that.
So you got on the right
playing
bus.
arenas, and it was a godsend.
So good. So
good. Yeah, we've been very fortunate and blessed. And every day I wake up and we get to do this, I just feel like the luckiest person. I'm very thankful for it.
Hey, I'm so glad you guys wanted to share your song, Well Done. I'm sure there's a story about the song.
Yeah.
That was a song that it felt like we didn't even really write. It felt like it wrote itself.
Yeah.
And we went to write it, and I just remember the words just coming out. And sometimes you have those moments where you're writing a song And then when it's all finished, you think, how'd this happen? And you can just feel the Holy Spirit breathing through a situation, you know?
What was your inspiration?
I lost my dad to cancer when I was young. And ever since then, there's been this void in our family. And it's almost like there's something that we feel like we're just missing out on that can never be replaced. And I think about it when we have my kids' birthdays. I think about it on holidays. I also remember thinking and looking around and seeing our family all together and thinking, wow, our dad showed us how to love Jesus. He lived his life for God. He was far from perfect, but he taught us about God's grace and God's goodness and his never-ending love. And because of that, me and all my siblings, there's 6 of us, and all of us are living lives in pursuit of Jesus, and we love Jesus. And I can't think of a better legacy to have. And so it was just a wake-up call to how important this life is, and the things that we do here really do matter. And it can impact somebody else's life forever. And so I wrote the chorus, and then I didn't know how to finish it. I got stuck. And then on the day that Billy Graham passed away, I reached out to Billy Graham's grandson, Will Graham, who's become a really good friend because we do a lot of events with the Billy Graham organization. I just reached out to him and told him we were thinking about him and praying for his family and grieving their loss with them. And he texted me back and he said, all day I haven't been able to stop thinking about those words from my grandfather. And he said, you see it all over the news right now, but he really believed this. He said, someday you're going to hear that Billy Graham is dead, but don't believe it because I'm more alive than ever. And I thought, man, what a perspective to have, that someday we're going to be in a place where we belong more than we've ever belonged before, a place where we're more at home than we've ever felt in this world. And all those things that have been a burden in this world, the pain and the heartache, it's all going to be washed away. And I started thinking about when you live a life like that, like we were celebrating his life on that day and remembering his life. And think about it, if we get to heaven and there's overcrowding or too much traffic, we can blame Billy Graham because he told so many people about Jesus. But I thought, I want to be someone like that who just can't keep my mouth shut about Jesus. And I mean, that's what this life is about. So went home, we finished the song like right away. And it's a song that I hope brings comfort to people who have lost someone that they love, but also as a reminder that someday when we leave this world, we're going to go before our Creator. And all those pains of this world are going to be washed away, and we'll see Jesus. And want to hear those words, well done, my good and faithful servant.
Hey, good morning, Keith. It's Jeff. I would love to get a message to the afters if that's possible. My mom died February 7th of this year, and I had never heard that song before. When I got in the car, I found my sister called and said she had died, and I was about a mile away from the care facility. So I hopped in the car, and I had never heard that song before, and that song was on. Really, really meaningful to our family. And when we gathered everyone. We gathered the family a couple days later to say goodbye, and the cremation society came and got her bundled up and brought her out into the hallway, and the whole family and staff from the care facility gathered around my mom, and we played that song on my Bluetooth speaker.
Are you serious?
For the family and for the staff. And I mean, it was just remarkable. It's made a huge difference in our family. The icing on the cake is I gave the eulogy 2 weeks later, and I looked at the notes from my dad's eulogy 14 years earlier, and I ended my dad's eulogy quoting scripture by saying, "Well done, good and faithful servant." So well done was this bridge between my dad's death in 2005 and my mom's death in 2019. So unbelievable song, unbelievable moment, totally God-inspired, and just want to thank those guys.
Jeff, I'm so sorry for the loss of your mom. Would you share a memory that you have with you and your mom that you just cherish? She was totally nurturing and caring and just laid down her life for all of her kids, including me. You know, you have memories of you and your dad. Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite memory of you and your dad together?
Oh man, so many. You know, one of my favorite memories, I was very close. to my dad. He was very invested in my life.
Yeah.
I learned a lot on how to be a father from him. You know, I have 4 kids now. One of my favorite memories was when we first started playing with the band. He would call and just encourage me all the time. And I remember there was a time when we weren't sure if we should even pursue this. And when the record label first came to us and they said, hey, we want to sign you. And I remember telling him, I want to drop out of college and go on the road and do music. And he said, that's exactly what you need to do. He was so supportive. And if he had said, no, you know what, I don't think you should do it, I probably wouldn't have done it. But he really believed in my potential, and he believed in God's calling on my life. And so he was always supportive in that way. And I think it gave me confidence and courage to pursue some things that I wouldn't have otherwise.
That is great, because that is something you do not hear from most parents. I think you ought to drop out of college and go pursue
No,
your
you
music.
really don't.
That is great, because why? Because he gets it. He says, I can go above what the norm is and say, God, what are you doing? What's your call on my son's life? And you're right. And when you get and you get different walks of life and different stories, not everybody listening to this today can nod their head in agreement and say, oh yeah, that was my dad too. You get it from on all across the spectrum.
Yeah.
But to say for you that you had that special blessing, although maybe there's been difficult things in your life, other major challenges or minor challenges, that's one thing that you put in the plus column, that you say, my dad told me he believes in me and I can do it. What are you going to say to your dad when you see him one day in heaven?
Oh, after you're gonna make me emotional here. You know,
What are you going to say to him when you see him? Because you just told us a song and a story about
Absolutely.
well done.
Yeah.
That we're all going to be there one day.
Yeah.
When you look at your dad, what are your first words?
even the thought of that day just brings such a smile to my face. And man, I'll say it's good to be home.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to be home. And we're back together again.
Amen. All right, Josh and Matt, how about you share your song Well Done with us now?
What will it be like when my pain is gone and all the worries of this world just fade away? What will it be like when you call my name? In that moment when I see you face to face, I'm waiting my whole life to hear you say, well done, my good and faithful one. Welcome to the place where you belong. Well done, my beloved child. You have run the race and now you're home. Welcome to the place where you belong. What will it be like when tears are washed away and every broken thing will finally be made whole? What will it be like when I come into your glory, standing in the presence of a love so beautiful? I'm waiting my whole life for that day. I will live my life to hear you say, well done, my good and faithful one. Welcome to the place where you belong. Well done, my beloved child. You have run the race and now you're home. Welcome to the place where you belong. What will it be like when I hear that sound All of heaven's angels crying out, singing holy, holy, singing holy are you, Lord, singing holy, holy, holy are you, Lord, singing holy, holy, singing holy are you, Lord. I'm waiting my whole life for that day. Until then I'll live to hear you say, well done, my good and faithful one. Welcome to the place where you belong. Well done, my beloved child. You have run the race and now you're home. Welcome to the place where you belong. Well done.
Wow. Well, those are words worth living for. Thank you, guys. Man, the power of a life lived for Jesus. That's the hope that we all have. I don't know what you have, master mixes or remixes or whatever. That was like, it seemed beautiful, perfect right there.
Thank you.
Nicely
Thank you,
done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate
Thank
a
you.
beautiful record and song. And I say record because I'm old, but whatever.
I call it records too.
Yeah, do you?
Love
Good.
it.
I'd like to thank Matt and Josh from the group The Afters for joining me today on the podcast. I Love That Song is a product of Northwestern Media, a ministry of the University of Northwestern St. Paul. And thanks for listening to I Love That Song. I'm your good friend Keith Stevens, and hey, I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.
I love that song.
I love that song.
I love that song.